Turn your radio up and listen. It's time for City Life. Here's Rob McGowan.
Oh yeah, your sound seems to be a little off.
Oh,
not really. There, that's better. Seems to be a little
better.
Yeah, there I can hear you. It was sort of fading in and out. I don't know. Must be the mic or something.
Turn myself up.
There you go.
There you go.
We all need one of those buttons. Turn ourselves up every day.
Yeah, that's true.
So what's going on, Adam?
Well, here we are again, right?
Yes.
September just seems to be slipping away here or going so quickly.
Everything. It's crazy.
You know, I guess we're in our fleeting days of summer and looking ahead. There's so much going on in the city or planned in the city for the fall, certainly. And I got this earlier this week at the Mill Cove Coffee Shop. I know this is a 2021 fall haunted happenings guide. So these are out in shops and stores all around the city. And I would definitely encourage people to go grab one. It's got all of the different events that are happening all over the next few weeks here in town. So the downtown music festival, of course, the corn maze, the pumpkin fling coming up next weekend. That is always a hugely popular event. The zombie walk.
Oh wow, all kinds of stuff. So the pumpkin fling is on. That's awesome.
The pumpkin.
Yeah, that's always good fun.
That one's back on next Saturday down at Waterford Green in the afternoon. And we know there's always a big turnout and it's always a lot of fun. So definitely for all the families out there, make your way down there and you'll have a great time.
Oh, it's good to see stuff coming back to the city for sure.
Good to see life. Yes.
Yeah. So lots of things have gone on the last little while since I talked to you. I was something that really surprised me is when the council passed that the holiday, the one that the province had turned down but the city council had passed it through. And I thought that was amazing.
The National Day for Truth and Reconciliation on September 30th. Yes. Well, I'm very proud that, we were the first city in the province to come on board and say that we will participate in the day. It's very clearly not for the Indigenous people in this country and for many of us as well, non-Indigenous people. It's not about a day off. It's not about getting paid to not come into work, right? This is about acknowledging the past and some of the horrible things that have happened in our country and educating ourselves and committing ourselves to truth and reconciliation and moving forward together for the betterment of all people. And, this was one of the 94 calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation report and commission a few years ago. And as a city, we've been very committed to reconciliation on the local level. Of those 94 calls, many of them are not really for municipal government. A handful of them are. And having this day was one for all three levels of government. So, the items that are relevant for the city, we certainly want to take part in that. And, we've worked really hard over the last few years on our relationships with neighboring communities and Indigenous people. And we're so proud now to be leading the way on September 30th as well. And now there's a big event being planned for in the city at 11 a.m. on the 30th. At Queen Elizabeth Park in downtown Newcastle. So members of from all of the neighboring First Nation communities are working, our city staff and myself are helping out as well. And so there's going to be a unity march, some speakers, a chance to be educated, some drumming, a barbecue. So they've got a lot of really exciting things planned, and they really want to make sure that everybody understands this event is for everyone. In some ways, more so for non-Indigenous people to have a chance to come and learn about Indigenous culture and participate. So we really want to encourage all citizens to come out to that event on the 30th as well.
Well, I think it's a great idea. Coming together and a chance to, understand what's gone on in the past and just so that we don't make the same mistakes going forward in the future. So I thought it was a great idea, and hats off to the council for passing that. That was great. Yeah, so lots of things going on. So what about anything new in the city that's going through recently we should know about that's exciting?
Well, I mean, all of the things we talked about so far are quite exciting. And we're working as a council now. Well, a couple of things. The new active transportation and trails plan will soon be. We've had the draft plan. This is, we've heard very clearly in the community over the last year or much longer, but very much in the last year, people are looking for more active transportation options. They want a city that's more walkable, more accessible, more trails for bikes, for ATVers. And so we've worked on and now have a plan, and we can start doing that plan. So the heart of the vision, which was developed with all of these, biking groups, ATV groups, snowmobile groups, all of the groups in the community and citizens, hundreds of citizens shared their ideas. And now we've got a plan built on the vision of the community. And the heart of that is going to be what they call the spine, which will be the river loop. So this will be a trail all the way up and down the river on both sides, connected by the bridges, so that people can be as close to the river up and down on both sides. And that will be that's the first piece of the plan. So we're looking forward to getting going on that.
So any idea when that'll start, or roughly, or?
Likely we'll start significant work next year. So now that we have the plan, we've got good timing, we'll put money in the budget this fall for next year. We'll apply for federal matching grants and look maybe for private funding opportunities as well. We know Frank McKenna is a big supporter of the trails development here in our community. So we'll look forward to getting some significant work done in the next few years on trail development.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of getting some help from federal and provincial, we got our, federal election coming up here in the next week. So have you been talking with both the people that are running for MPs and setting up for making sure we have whoever wins good counsel, good representation back and forth for communication?
Well, absolutely. So, as mayor and council, we've met with 3 of the local candidates. There are others. We put out an invite for all of the candidates to come and meet with us and to discuss. We had 5 priority areas where we wanted to get where they stood personally and where the parties did. So Liberal candidate Lisa Harris, Conservative candidate Jake Stewart, and Green candidate Patty Beach did all come to council and speak with us. So, certainly we want to make sure that our next MP is supportive and will help us secure funding for the new centralized rec facility, the multiplex project, certainly as well to secure funding to finish the work on the Centennial Bridge and to ensure that there's a pedestrian crossing for a northern bypass, a commitment to helping us work on the province for a northern bypass. We wanted to know where they stood on affordable housing, where their parties stand on affordable housing, because we desperately need more affordable housing in our community, and that they would advocate first, how will our party deal with affordable housing, which is a crisis across the country? And will they be fighting to ensure that we can secure some of that funding in our riding? And finally, it was for support federally on trail development. So these were the 5 issues where we put them out, and they're aware of our priorities, and they're all telling us they're committed to working with us. So hopefully that will be the case for whichever one of them is indeed successful, because there's no shortage of challenges in the community, as you know, Rob, and also opportunities. And we can achieve more always when we have all 3 levels of government working together.
Yes, for sure. Well, I had the MPs in here. Well, I shouldn't call them MPs yet, but future wannabe MPs in here, and talked about those issues actually. So we have them on record. So whichever one gets elected there, we can put them sort of a little fire under their feet once we get going to make sure.
That's right. I mean, I know firsthand how intense and how much hard work a campaign is, but really it's only just the part that gets you the job. So you're only going to be just starting after next Monday, whoever is successful, and we'll be giving them a phone call to follow up very shortly after the 20th. That's for sure.
In talking with them, there's something came up. One of them had talked about the idea of bringing someone here to explain to people how we get funding and stuff like that. And I was wondering, in city council, I know there's different things that programs whenever you go for funding for the city. Is there places where people can go find out about funding for things they're doing through the city, different programs?
Yeah, well, I mean, we as the lowest, at the municipal level, we do have some funding support programs for the community. The neighborhood matching grant is a great example.
Yes.
You can get up to $4,000 for any, for a broad number of community initiatives. That has to be matched in some way by volunteer hours or a matching portion of funding from a private business. But again, the volunteer hours of the community group count as financial contribution for those community groups. So that's one example on the municipal level, but certainly, as a city and many community groups, we rely on accessing federal and provincial programs to support their initiatives. So, the new MP and their office staff should be helping citizens and community groups understand where those potential federal programs are and how to access them. So a lot of times, those programs are going to be tapped into across the country by the people who actually apply, and you have to know about it to apply. So
that was the kind of the secret here, is that some people don't even know about any of these programs and stuff that goes on. So how can we make the people that are doing stuff in our city more aware of some of these grants and funds, and how do we do that?
Well, that would be an important part of the job of our next MP. If they're federal programs, the federal representative should be the one sharing that information. And I mean, the other piece too is, of course, depending on which party forms government, the programs may change. And that's why it's so important to educate ourselves before we go to vote. What's important to you as a citizen, and then make sure that you're voting for a party that represents those values and is going to bring those dollars to the table on the things that are important to you.
Awesome. Nope, that's great. Well, so are you going to be at the Pumpkin Fest for sure?
I will absolutely be. Once again, I'll be helping to, shoot out one of the first ceremonial pumpkins. It's one of my favorite events. And they also, I don't know if they'll do it this year, but usually they always have a chili cook-off challenge as part of the pumpkin fling. And I do enjoy the chili cook-off myself as well.
Yes, it's always good. I can remember one of the first years I ever went to that, they had the world's biggest pumpkin pie or something. It was a crazy contest. They had this giant pumpkin pie down in the park. It was so much fun. Yeah, if you have a chance, people should go out to that, and good chance to get out and see each other. I know there's a lot of controversy, and there's people on both sides of the vaccination issues, and frustration sometimes in our city, but people have to learn to be kind no matter what we're going through. If you're going into a store, people just are working there doing their jobs. Be kind to them. Be nice. I've heard of altercations between people that should never happen. So hopefully we can get our city settled down and realize we're all in this together.
Well, it's a good point, Rob. And I would love to take a moment to speak about this. First of all, yes, we all have to be kind and compassionate to each other in terms of COVID and in general, right? We never know what our neighbors are going through, and when they're having a bad day that we might not know about. But in the context of COVID, we've done very well overall as a community and really as a province. But what we're seeing right now, and we know today, after today's numbers are announced, we'll have more COVID cases right now, more active COVID cases right now in New Brunswick than at any other point in the pandemic. That is scary. So I know for a lot of us, God, we are so tired of this. We are so sick of this, but we are not done just because we want to be done. And it's so important for people to go out and get vaccinated. Getting vaccinated is what is going to get us through the end of this pandemic. And we see these additional measures coming in place now, the vaccine passports. The reason we have to have these things is because not enough people are vaccinated. So to the citizens in our region that have not yet gone out and got vaccinated, please do that, not just for yourself, but for your friends, your neighbors, your community. We're grateful. We're excited to see these events happening again. We've just talked about so many exciting events that are happening in the community, but when we look at these passports, that puts an extra burden on small businesses and community groups. And it's not government's fault. It's the fault of those people who are not yet vaccinated. So government is doing what they need to do to ensure that they keep us safe, and vaccination is the path to that. But in the meantime as well, although we don't currently have to, I'd encourage people to continue to wear their masks. Make sure you're washing your hands frequently. You're keeping that social and physical distance. We want to be done. We're not quite done. And the best way through is to follow the rules and get vaccinated.
Okay. So is there anything coming up on I was thinking today, we've been doing a lot of work with groups in the city, charity groups like the SPCA and stuff. And I wanted to give a sort of shout out to anytime I've called out to the councillors or MPs and stuff, they've all showed up to these events and made a big difference. So I'm really proud of what the councillors are doing and what you guys are doing in that sense of the matter. It's great.
Well, I think, and I think most of the council does as well, part of our job is to support, obviously, community events, community groups, especially nonprofits that are trying to make the city better in some way. So, I think we all do our very best to get out there and support these groups and events as best we can, as we should.
Well, that's great. What else? There was something else I wanted to talk to you about today. So when it comes to the drug situation in our city, is there anything particular on the agenda you guys are working out? I know that Harvest House and places like that have come to you guys. Is there anything you guys as a council are working on as a project that you're looking at funding or trying to get around or help with?
Well, in the past few years, council's been very engaged on addictions and mental health as well. And there's a strong correlation there. We've installed the safe disposal boxes around the community, which has allowed for some of those needles to be properly disposed in a safe way and get them out of parks, for example, where they shouldn't be. We've put more money and more resources. We've added a community and a police officer. We've invested in the drug unit, of course, but the police enforcement is only one piece of the puzzle. We've got to have a strong focus as a community and all levels of government on prevention and on education as well. And that's really where we need our provincial governments to come to the table. So as a community, we've invested more time, more money into solutions, both preventative and, reactionary. But quite frankly, this is an area where we need the provincial government to lead. We need Premier Higgs and his cabinet to take this seriously and to support communities and support those that have addiction issues, support those that have mental health issues. And, those spaces that need to be created in rehabs, those spaces that need to be created to help people with counseling, and there's provincial support and funding that needs to be brought to the table in that area. So we've been engaged. We've been working with public health, mental health experts, the hospital, and everybody. There are solutions that people are aware of that are out there, but we need the provincial government to take the lead on that. And, again, being federal election season, the federal parties are making different commitments around support for healthcare and mental health. And so you want to have a look at those federal platforms, but ultimately we all need to be calling on our province, and we have been, but we need to see more leadership from the provincial government on this matter.
So when we say we're calling on our provinces, how does that work? Like, you guys write letters to them, you have meetings with them? I know they've okayed some money now for Mount St. Joseph's, and they're doing work up there and opening up the second floor. I was talking with the MLA about that. So there's some money coming in about things to help out. So,
well, and by the way, the city has come to the table and supported that Mount St. Joseph project as well. And that's a housing development project. That's an affordable housing project. That is not a project related to mental health or addictions. So Rob, look.
So when you say affordable mental health, so the Mount St. Joseph's, that isn't for seniors, what they're doing up there, the second floor?
what the seniors, there's a couple projects going on at Mount St. Joseph. So
Okay.
on the ground level, they have memory care beds now, and they're working, I believe, for something similar on the second floor. On the third and fourth floor, 2 floors have been converted to like basically dormitory style housing. So for students and temporary foreign workers, and also for anybody who'd like to rent one of those rooms, there are now 72 new dormitory style housing units at Mount St. Joseph primarily for students and temporary foreign workers, which we have had drastic shortages in this community over a number of years. So yes. I'm really, really proud that council's come to the table to support that. And I congratulate Mount St. Joseph on their leadership in helping us to solve these housing issues that we're having in the community.
Well, that's awesome. So that the money that comes in, Mount St. Joseph's will control that and take care of all that?
The Mount is an independent a nonprofit organization themselves. Okay. They have their own board of directors. So this was their vision and idea to do that. Okay. And they did secure funding support from the province through RDC and from the municipality to help them develop these units, and many of which are now already open and housing students for the new school year.
Well, that's great, because I know from working with some of the new immigrants, the Filipinos and stuff coming in, that the housing is the biggest deal, getting places for them to stay. So that's a great project. And talking with some of the city councilors, they say there's over 400 units now in place that we have.
Well, there are
ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, housing. We know housing is one of our biggest challenges and bottlenecks to the growth and development of our community. I've been very loud and passionate about this now for almost since the moment I became mayor. Quickly, it was very obvious this was a huge issue. It took me a couple of years to get some others on board, but they're all there now, and that's really great. And you're right, we now have over 300 units of housing actively being developed in the community. Nobody can remember. There is no record of a year in the city's history with more. So this is the biggest housing development year we've ever had as a city. Over 300 units. And then if you add in the 72 dorm units at Mount St. Joseph, absolutely, we're very close to that 400 unit number. And those are certainly going to help. We know we need more, especially in the affordable housing areas, right? So there's more work to do, and we're going to keep doing it to create the affordable housing we need.
For people, I'm kind of harping on that because it seems like our biggest issue, the housing. So when it comes to affordable housing, so how does that work? What's the difference between, so a guy comes to you and he says, okay, we want to build apartments, we want to build units. How do we get them designed as affordable housing units? How does that work?
Well, I mean, look, if we knew, we'd doing it already in many ways, but there are a number of complex issues around this, Rob, and we start, I guess, with the definition of affordable housing, which is provided by the CMHC, which is a federal agency. It is currently defined as 30% of the average median income in a community. And so a project, units would be considered affordable if they are going to be rented for a monthly rate of 30% of the median income. The problem with that, so that helps, but the problem with that is that the people who need affordable housing do not make the median income. They make less than that. So 30% of their income is not 30% of the median. So now we're working to try to get that definition changed, which will allow, currently there are projects being built with affordable housing funding from the federal and provincial governments that aren't actually affordable. So we need to change the definition so that the units that are built with government money are actually affordable for the people who need them.
So that particular definition, just so I know here going forward, who to go after about this stuff, who would change that definition? Is that at the federal level?
The federal level. Yeah. And so we're advocating as a city, we're getting the other cities in New Brunswick involved in that. And nationally, we're going to bring that to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to lobby the federal government. But, the other piece of this is that you need developers, either private developers or nonprofit groups who are willing to develop affordable units. The reality is when you have a shortage across the board, any private developer is going to prefer to develop higher end units because they're going to make more money. Yes. So we don't just need government money, but we need policy that will, there is emerging policy that we're looking at, and that is we see in other communities where, for example, any multi-unit building that you'd like to build in the community, you have to allocate a certain portion of those units to be affordable. And that's, then that creates mixed use developments, which is a better practice than having all affordable units stuck together in one area as well. So there are a number of things, best practices emerging that we're keeping our eyes very closely on, but really finding and securing developers to create the units is the biggest challenge.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, well, that's good. See, we're educating everybody each week. Me too.
We're learning about this stuff. We're getting very wonky here, but I love it.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm a details guy. As an elected official, you have to understand the issues if you're going to fix them. And I really believe that very strongly.
Well, the whole point of this show was to get people to start understanding what council does and how important it is to participate and know what's really going on up there. So,
but I do want to say, Rob, you mentioned, well, what's council doing to convince the provincial government to help out more on addictions, for example, or on housing? I want to make sure it's very clear that it's not just council's job to advocate to the provincial government, but it's the job of each and every citizen. So we get, when I go and council goes, that's 9 voices. Now, those are 9 voices that are elected to speak on behalf of the citizens. But when the premier or the ministers are receiving calls from, dozens or hundreds of citizens, or when they see protests, or when they see petitions, these things help. So, I understand there's going to be a rally to support nurses and healthcare workers today in the park, actually, around noontime in Newcastle. And that matters. It matters when citizens engage as well. And I think back to years ago when I was myself a teenager, just in my first couple of years of college, and when they were trying to close an entire wing of our hospital, and we would have hundreds, thousands, in fact, of Miramichiers drove over to the provincial legislature and protested on the front lawn. That, wow. They didn't close our wing, and we got to keep our full hospital, as we should. So, we do our part as mayor and council, but every citizen needs to use their voice as well to express the things that they want to see.
Well, I agree with that 100%. People should be writing letters to their MPs and councillors every day.
Letters, phone calls,
yeah,
whatever, Facebook posts, whatever you got to do. The squeaky wheels get the grease, right?
Keep it going. Keep it on their mind till they're annoyed so much. I think there's a prayer somewhere in the Bible. One guy, he's praying so much, God says, "Okay, that's enough." He kicks him. He says, "That's enough. Well, I'll do it. I'll do it already." So that's kind of the same thing.
If it can work on God, hopefully it'll work on Premier Higgs too.
Yes, we'll keep working it for sure. And no, that's great, Adam. And I don't want to take up too much of your time. I kind of got off into the weeds there, but I'm kind of using this show to just get people informed and know what we need to do. And it was a great segue into that.
Well, you're welcome. It's always, as you can tell, I'm passionate about these things, about all the different events that happen in our community, and about driving change and that we can do on the local level. And we need to drive change, policy and funding change at the other levels of government too. And I'm confident that we can do all that together. But so I'm happy to chat anytime, Robin. Thank you for doing the program and helping to create awareness with the community and the citizens.
No trouble. As always, thank you. Say hi to everybody at council, and you guys are doing a great job.
Thanks so much, Rob. Have a great day and a great weekend.
You too. Thanks a lot, Adam.
Bye-bye.
Like a bird on a tree,